Oh, okay. Do I have to press it now? Really? So, apparently YouTube has switched out the layout and design of their streaming streaming page lab. Hello, welcome. Welcome to the stream. This music is a bit different from what I'd like today. Let's turn it off for the moment. Maybe I should start by just showing some video here. I have some stuff prepared as far as I remember. What now? So YouTube changed the layout of the stream lab or whatever you want to call it, and I'm a bit lost. And keeps giving me pointers. It's a bit confusing. Anyway, now what of this have I shown? What's that? And what's that? I don't even remember what this is. Let's just see. Oh, it's just it's just a picture of the Skytree, or video of the Skytree rather. Huff. I just thought I'd show it off. Hello, Gabsy. Welcome. Look who's here. Who hasn't been here in a long while. I'll probably show this video off a few times. Is it looping? I didn't think it was this long. I just thought I'd show off the sort of night illumination of the Skytree. I think it's neat. Eee. How are you guys today? I am doing well. And I'm sorry for not having streamed. I promised lots of streams, but I didn't. I have explanations. I don't know if you'll accept them or not, but I do. I've been hard at work. Completely understandable. That's one of my main reasons for not having streamed. I've been sleeping at this time of night, evening even. Oh, look at that! One of those restaurant boats. Okay, actually, this video is much longer than I thought it was. I'm glad to see you here, Psycho. I am. Oh, that's the end of that. I'll show something more lengthy, I think. I have several lined up here. Oh, that's a beautiful one, isn't it? Those are the train rides. What's this? Seriously, what's that? Oh, that's also a short one. Let's do that one for now. Ding. Actually, it's probably... I think I'm sort of riding an escalator. It's super boring, but... or the theme is boring, but... I thought it might be slightly interesting. That boat, no, that's one. There's a whole fleet of little boats, restaurant boats. Basically, they drive around the canals and harbor of Tokyo in the evening. You can book a table and eat on them. I haven't done it myself, but I see them all the time. I have many pictures of them. You will see some. I assure you. Actually, this is even more boring than an escalator. I think it's possibly just the trains, but who knows? Maybe I don't know if I strung those videos together. No, no, I didn't. Let's put on something more lengthy. How about this then? Oh no, that's weird. Not fun weird, just boring weird. Which one of these? Why am I pointing? Let me see. What this one? Why am I pointing over there? I want to go over there. I don't remember having made this video. And I'm going over there and then down. Oh, okay, sorry. This one is actually the follow-up. I'm not going over there. I wanted to point to where I had come from. Sorry, that's weird. This video. Sorry to hear that. That seems weird. So I promised for quite some time that I would show a video of the less touristy parts of Tokyo, and this is certainly one of those. It's a part of the city that's it's not distant, as it were, from more touristy parts. It's just, you know, there's nothing particularly special about it, unless you're a urban. Should I call myself an urbanist? I like urban landscapes. You modeled, I guess maybe modeled, a donut and a cup in Blender. Oh. So Blender is a 3D modeling software, right? Or application. I thought I for a while I thought you made like a clay figure, or made some clay sculptures of a donut and a cup in a blender, and I couldn't wrap my head around that. Drawing tablet, eh? Sweet stuff, I'm sure. Didn't you? I thought you already had one for sure. But I guess that's who is it? That must be Sonny? Does she draw on a tablet sometimes? Maybe she doesn't. Or is it you, Psycho, who draws on tablets? I can't recall. So look at this stuff here. This is the stuff I find so fascinating. They really, in this part of town, you really see this what I call street modding, and the peculiar Japanese cars, which I've actually learned why they look like that. But the fact that they actually, in some neighborhoods, they really put a lot of time in cultivating the shrubberies. Not these ones. These are, I guess, owned by the co-op of that building. Yeah, those narrow spaces. But what I'll probably focus on right here, these little shrubs on the sidewalk, and all of them are different. I find them fascinating because they all show, you know, the attention of the people living there. They're so obviously tended to by the residents, but they seem to be owned by the city, in that they are, you know, part of the street and all that, but modded. You often find collections of tools and other selected, or not selected, more mixed paraphernalia, tools and such, sitting in them. Yes, so obviously they have floods and earthquakes aplenty in Japan, so these evacuation roads and areas are commonly and clearly advertised everywhere. This is one of those areas of the city that they call the downtown, but the Japanese term downtown, which does not mean central city, but means the least affluent parts. It's not equivalent to ghetto. It just means undeveloped, basically, or perhaps basic. You will see in this video I walk in some rather interesting streets and some not so interesting streets. So I thought I'd have this on in the background and do something different. Psycho, by the way, I don't think you caught my last stream. I started playing the cutest game. Gabsy, you should tell her about Ghost of a Tale. That is, without a doubt, the most adorable thing. I think it's the cutest game that I've ever seen. I haven't played more. I'm saving it. I'm probably going to play a bit later. Okay, so why haven't I been streaming? Reason for the first part of this week, or last week, sorry, for the first part of this period, I was awake during the night, but I mean I woke up at like 12, like midnight, because I failed at switching around, and then I tried to switch it further, but I just ended up waking up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, or 3, then 4, 5. Today I woke up at just after 7. I think I managed to sleep out until after 7. So I'm tired now. I'm starting to get tired, but I'm good enough. I was good enough yesterday as well, but there was another thing. I have been fighting. Fighting is perhaps wrong. Struggling is much better descriptor with assembly programming on the Raspberry Pi. I was... Oh, what's the word? Disconsolate? Can you say that? Yesterday, crestfallen, that's a good one. That's a good descriptor. I was crestfallen yesterday. I had been struggling with a particular problem for a couple of days and could find no way to solve it. Searching online, reading books, buying new books about assembly programming and Linux. Well, not books about Linux, but books about assembly programming on a Linux system. And it's such an annoyingly simple thing, or seemingly simple, but boy oh boy was it hard to find info on it. And today I said I went to sleep yesterday still failing. I said this morning I just had to get back to the problem. I couldn't think about going out to get exercise or get groceries or anything. I just sat down in front of my computer immediately upon waking up. Just kept sort of hammering at the problem, and finally today I've had like a glimmer of hope, and I've been making steady progress for the last several hours, but tricky. Actually, I think our character in the game is definitely a mouse, and you remember the Ratigans? They are our foes. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be a mouse, like a forest mouse. I feel good now. I'm sort of celebrating right now because I've been making progress. And Gabsy, you can relate. You've been stuck in programming problems. It's just an input problem. I want to switch the program from from the state where you have to press enter. If you want to press enter to to send input to the program, so you can type something, but you have to press enter to send it. So to change to a raw or medium raw, weird terms, state. But to do that, no, in order for the computer to send keyboard input directly to your program, i.e. for Linux to send keyboard input directly to your program. It took me over 2 days to solve. 2 whole days, and like coding for 10 hours each day. Or not coding, researching. Finally, I found a piece of code that would do it. I didn't understand it. It was quite a ways above my level of understanding. Tried to find other ways, sort of couldn't find anything. So we returned to it today, and have been sort of decrypting it. I've made parts of that code work now, and I'm well on the way. But it's not fun to get stuck like that. So see, you need to transfer your programs from the Pi to a laptop. Why? Are you running a Linux system on your laptop? Do you want more power? What's the reason? And Unreal Engine 4. Interesting. For a specific project, are you porting one of your game projects to Unreal Engine? Or just because you want to learn it? For future projects. Look at that. I might be the only one who finds this. I hope you find this video somewhat entertaining. I find it fascinating, but and this is a very true picture of what not only Tokyo looks like. Sorry, parts of Tokyo. Tokyo is a very diverse city. It has, when it comes to areas have very different feel to them, I think. Yeah, actually, assembly isn't that hard. I feel, not as far. I've been thinking today. Actually, I was thinking to myself, this stuff that I'm learning now, it wouldn't be hard if there was just a good explanation geared at beginners like I, because up to a certain point, this book that I've been learning the basics from, it's super simple. It tells you everything you need to know. I don't think I would even have needed my C++ experience to understand most of the stuff in this book. No, not at all. But this book and all the other ones that I bought in order to try to find the solutions, they sort of get to a certain point where they go parallel with my wishes or with my goals, and then they veer off into how to use mass coprocessors and do so I think it's a paper skytree and a few other little sculptures. Do rather in my opinion complex maths operations, things that I'm not interested in, and they just barely touch upon input and output, which is my main interest really, for the sake of games programming, because that's not what they're interested in. This is meant as a kind of introduction to assembly for electronic engineers, or for example. And I guess a lot of them expect you to actually use assembly language together with some other program like C or C++. So I think if I reach a certain level of understanding of input and output, you know, or as soon as I start to be able to make any kind of program, I want to produce a series of videos or write maybe a blog about assembly programming for people, with sort of yours and mine, um, from our point of view, quite uh, quite inexperienced people with, well, at least I have very little technical background and very sparse understanding of mathematics, um, and especially computer science, because the explanations in this book, they're excellent. I could understand them well. If he just continued, I'm sure he could have explained all the things I want to know in a way so that I could have grasped them. Now I've been having to puzzle them together, and I've had use of my C++ programming now, because a lot of the things that I want to do are not actually explained, since they are not assembly language specific. They are, look at this house, by the way, sorry. When a house gets too brittle, it's they get inspected every so often, every so often, yes, and with the aim of making sure that houses are safe, sturdy enough to withstand earthquakes. And when they're not considered to be sturdy enough anymore, it's forbidden to live in them. They become off limits. Doesn't matter who you are, or how much money you got invested in it, or whatever. And they get abandoned, and you find those houses sometimes before they get torn down, and they can look quite interesting like that. Anyway, so I've been puzzling together like C language code and translating that and think, oh, how does this work in assembly language? It's difficult to do that with my lack of experience, but I made some progress, at least. I think I can write some really useful blogs or make some useful videos. Anywho, that should be it. I'll talk more about it later. I still have some ways to go. The program the code that I've been experimenting with, it only barely does it does one of like 3 things that I wanted to do. It does, doesn't it? Hence the term picturesque. Actually. Oh, that's what we use the term for, You may transfer Ludus Explorer to be a 3D similar to Legend of Zelda. I saw that before, I just wanted to finish my rant or lengthy explanation. I'm getting so curious. I want to see this Ludus Explorer. Do you have anything about it? I hardly remember what it's supposed to be. Is it? And I think I continue to get it mixed up. Look at these little alleys. They're so exciting. I have one video where I go through a very curious place. It's not this one though. It'll come later. You think huge parts of Tokyo can look quite sterile and boring. They really can, and I fully admit that. I will understand if you thought that, but if you're willing to look, you'll find lots of places that are very interesting indeed. Just little nuggets like this one. Can't have such a large city without them. It's impossible that they won't occur. Just a scrolling explorer. You could describe a lot of games that way, but they're interesting anyway. I'm curious. You don't have to show anything before you feel comfortable with it, but just know that I'm curious, and really, as soon as you feel comfortable sharing, please do. Is Again, I have to ask: is this the one you're making with your friends or for yourself? I'm sorry that I don't remember, but I don't. We speak of them so rarely, your games. Um, so a few final parentheses on this stuff that I've been making, this coding stuff. Right now, my program does take input from the keyboard immediately. That was the first thing I managed to. I managed to take this code that I found and use it for that purpose. However, as soon as it exited the program without resetting the console or resetting this keyboard reading algorithm from raw state to normal state, so input was all messed up. I managed to fix that. So now I've achieved two things. It takes keyboard input, so the program starts, it changes the setting, then it can take keyboard input immediately, regardless of what key you press. And then it exits but resets before doing so. However, at the moment, the program that I'm working with is one of the example that I'm modifying is one of the example bits of like practice code from this book. Although the other code that I've taken from copied by hand from an online source to achieve this is by far the larger part. the exercise code is very short. The only thing it does is allow you to write something and press enter to send that input to the program, which then just reprints on the screen and then asks you for another sentence. And then if you want to exit, you should press enter. At the moment, the only thing it does, it prints the one thing that you, it doesn't even print it, I think. The one thing that you enter, no, it prints it, but then it exits the program immediately. I don't know how I'm going to change that, but I'm going to work on that next. The third thing that it needs to do, or that I wanted to do, is of course, at the moment when you use the read function, which is not really a function, it's a system call, because I'm running assembly language on top of Linux. Many things that you want the computer to do, you don't actually program them yourself, you ask Linux to do them for you. So for example, reading the keyboard is something Linux does. Also, if you want to do any output on screen, you sort of ask permission to do so, or just ask Linux to do it. You just sort of just send, please put this on the screen. And the thing is, it freezes the program when you do that, and I don't want that. I want the program to keep running. I just want the program to check ever so often. I want the program to check if there has been any keyboard input. Once or twice, probably just once every program cycle. But I don't know, why did I point over there? Yes, I pointed over there because actually a video I showed recently was when I was walking on the other, not along the other bank of the river here, but along that housing complex you see there. Anyway, so we're quite close to where I shot another video, but on the wrong side of the other side of the river. The code I found, which solved my first problem, is actually also meant to solve both, but I decided to cut away everything that's not necessary for one thing, to just learn. I don't know exactly everything, how everything works in the code I used. I'm slowly decrypting it, and I'll learn the next part soon. Let's try to implement it. It should give me all the, not all of it, but it should give me a lot of the knowledge I need about input once I've studied it. I'm so happy to have finally broken through um, this kind of fog of ignorance. I speak far too much about this right now. It's the one you're making by yourself. I so dearly want to know more about it. Would you? I'm probably going to forget it again, but would you tell me the name of the other one you're making with your friends? I think I would like to know. Programming really can be a slog sometimes. But I couldn't have asked for a better ending to this day. The way it began, I actually couldn't really believe that I would reach this point. I had started to think that all the work I'd done over the last couple of days had been useless. I have learned very much about assembly language programming, though, as you tend to do when you're trying to solve a problem which you're unqualified to solve. You have to learn lots of stuff. Yeah, so this is the one you wanted to start learning C++ programming for. That's the building I talked about, and which I walked along in another video, which was probably quite boring, but but I made it for the sake of giving you the experience. Only 2 of you can program, I see. Wasn't that basically id Software? I think when id Software made Wolfenstein, there were only 4 people in it, and the Keen games, and I think only 2 of them were programmers, and there was 1 artist and 1 like designer. I've been watching so many interviews with id Software team members and documentaries about the making of Wolfenstein and Doom lately. I'm all up in. I probably reference that far too much, but I find it interesting and motivating. Over the shoulder programming. Does that mean that you were looking over the shoulder and learning? Yeah, I remember you said that. You told me about switching from one language. I didn't remember it was Python, but now that you say it, I recall you talking about it. Isn't that a beautiful place? I love this part of Turkey. I love so many parts of Turkey, but this is a really nice one. I've heard that it's actually a programming technique sometimes used by professionals. Is that I think they call it tandem programming or something, and I'm not sure exactly how it works, but from what I've read, the few snippets of comments from people, that basically you sit together at one station, like one, and you actually do program over each other's shoulders, or like you do backseat programming in a sense. So one is coding, and then you look on. You just have someone watching because they're not actually doing the work. I guess you count on them to be more objective than you when watching your code. and supply advice and comment. And I guess you might switch sometimes. Yeah, like that thing, which you just wrote down there, looking over the shoulder and correcting. I think, isn't that called tandem programming or something like it? Gosh, I'm walking slowly there. Or so it feels. I guess it's dependent on the point of view or perspective and all that. Why am I zooming in over there? I know. Do you see those sort of bluish boxes? Boxish, bl box-like bluish things under the highway. I'm pretty sure those are homeless homes. Um, uh, of the class of homeless people in Turkey, a lot of them construct little shelters for themselves along the rivers, under highways, and those sorts of places. And uh, these sort of blue tarp-like sheets, which they refer to as blue sheets, they're very common for use to protect crops and especially roof tiles during typhoons and the like. Extremely common, so I guess that's why they're so easy to get a hold of. I guess they basically take usually cardboard boxes or other kinds of boxes and boards and use this blue tarp together with ropes to hold them down. It's weird how very uniform a design you find among almost all homeless who have any kind of dwelling that they made themselves. They look very alike. It's like a whole subclass of architecture, you might say. I find it fascinating. Of course, I don't want to go up close and film those places because I don't want to expose such people, but it is fascinating to witness. Hello, Mr. Midago. I guess you're commenting about the tandem programming that I was talking about. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm basically guessing. I was just giving it a name based on the few things I'd read online. I guess maybe in one of my books too, also. It sounds like a fascinating thing. The only person I've seen code up close is my friend who's taught me quite a bit, but he's so far beyond me that I've never been able to comment. I've just looked on and learned from him. So, shall we migrate to Twitch? Because I'm quite exhausted after like 3 full days of basically troubleshooting or debugging, if you like. Not quite, but basically the same sort of work. Just loads and loads of research, and sadly I don't yet have anything to show for it. I could show you the program, but it's so pitiful. It starts, asks you for input, you press a key, and it's done. It's not exciting. I hope to have something more to show soon. I hoped the same thing last week, but I hit this snag, so I don't. So, what do you say? Migrate to Twitch and show Ghost of a Tale a bit, or any game that you guys fancy out of the ones that I stream. I'm open for just about anything. if it's unclear, I intend to do a let's play of something on Twitch. Basically, I play is it 4 different games on stream? It's either Banner Saga, Iron Fury, Game Dev Tycoon, and Ghost of a Tale. I think Ghost of a Tale is the one I should do. It's the most adorable and interesting one. I've been just being, I think in the game I just, I don't know if anyone watched until the end last time. I reached the top of the guard tower, having escaped the prison, and found my benefactor, a rat, who has now given me another mission to complete before I can actually escape. We've sent a message to some other place in order to find out where my wife is, my wife in the game. You seem game to go to Twitch, so I shall provide the name of my channel in chat here. Yes. Sweet Gabsy, yes, that's true, isn't it? I actually discovered something that might make it. I guess if you have Visual Studio, you can. I think you actually, the way that I've created my builds, it seems that you need at least one file from the Visual Studio, in order to be able to run them. So I think I haven't actually created complete builds of my games. I have to look into that. Maybe I need to. I think there's some sort of a release state as well, and maybe I don't think I've done that. I might have to. Noyos, hello. Yes, so we're just about finishing up here after a short intro and some Tokyo walking, and we're heading over to Twitch to play Ghost of a Tale for a while. I think you can see in chat a few comments up there. The name of my Twitch channel. And that's the end of the video, so let's go, shall we? I shall provide fresh links. I think you can download it from my webpage, I think, but I don't think you should because I haven't updated those files in a while. So please allow me to update those. I will tell you when it's done. Gabsy. I would love to to hear anyone's opinion. Maybe even see someone stream or make a video of my game. That would be amazing. Anyway, let's head over to Twitch, shall we? I hope I'll see you there in a few moments. Bye.